We're good. Whenever you are.
Good?
Yep.
Cool stuff. Welcome everybody to the Thursday, May 4th, 2023 Redevelopment Commission meeting. If I could ask all those in attendance to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a short prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would you pray with me? Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for letting us be gathered here on this beautiful evening. Lord, we just ask you to watch over us and the town in its entirety as we try to make decisions best for all those involved. Lord, we ask you to keep your hand over all of us here and all those that could not be here tonight. Please help those in need. In your name we pray. Amen. Third item on tonight's agenda would be the annual report. Jason and Sam from Baker Tilly. Welcome.
Again, Jason Semler from Baker Tilly. Thank you for having me again here this year. You know we do the annual report about this time every year. I have with me Sam Schrader, who has done the report the last couple of years. He'll come up here in a minute and give the report again. Also with me, Tim Foster. He's been helping us this year put the numbers together. And so, again, this is just kind of an annual requirement for all redevelopment commissions to meet, invite the overlapping tax units, and kind of go over the schedules. And as before, as Sam goes through the schedules, if there's any questions that you have about the schedules themselves or the TIF areas or TIF in general, be happy to stop. We're happy to answer those questions. But before we begin, I did want to point out a couple of things. As you probably know, the legislative session just ended over the weekend, and there did have some tweaks regarding the TIFs. That's pretty substantial. That's going to impact this board and some of your decisions going forward. One is that they are going to require, starting this year, that there'll be a spending plan that all redevelopment commissions will have to prepare by December 31 of each year. I think it has to be submitted to the council, has to be downloaded on Gateway, and from what we've heard is that you can't deviate from that plan. So they are instructing the Department of Local Government Finance to come up with what that structure is going to look like. We have a call on to Wes Bennett, the director, to see if we can help give suggestions because it scares me that it says you can't deviate from the plan. That seems very restrictive. So we want to make sure that it can meet their needs, but also be flexible enough to be able for you guys to do what you need as things come up. So there'll be more to come from that, and we'll keep you abreast of that as we learn more. Another thing that's I think beneficial is we talk about what TIF can be used for, and we always say it's capital projects in serving and benefiting the area. They've amended that now you can use it for operating costs related to police and fire, so kind of public safety. So that could be a good or bad thing depending how you look at it, but it'd be a good thing for communities that have that additional need. Because a lot of times, as you know, your job is to encourage growth, encourage new development, but oftentimes with development, encourage more services and demands on the community. So it gives you some more flexibilities for some of those demands. I don't know if we've talked about too much here, but residential TIF areas, there's been some tweaks to residential TIF areas. It's an easier process to get those approved. Before you had to get it approved by the school board, you no longer have to do that. There used to be a 1% threshold. You don't have to do that anymore. The downside is they reduced the life of residential TIF areas from 25 years to 20 years. So those are the main things. Again, there's been hundreds, if not thousands, of pages of new law, so we're still trying to go through them. And as we learn more, we'll pass that on to you. Those are the three key things that I wanted to bring up that could impact your day-to-day operations. So, any questions? Or I know you probably follow it through some of the associations too. So
Right. No, I appreciate the information. No, it's going to be interesting.
So we may be back. That's something when we get the guidelines from DLGF on what that spending plan, that's something we'll probably want to work with you to make sure, like I said, we meet the guidelines, but also to be flexible enough to, as surprises come up next year, you want to be able to
when our town council asks us to help pay for XYZ. I mean,
Or when an economic development project pops up in March and they
Yeah,
want to
Right,
break
yeah,
ground in
that's what I want to make
August.
sure that we're trying to table with Wes, that we can kind of.
there's a lot of times the economic development deals are, if you don't jump on them, you don't get them.
Right.
Yeah, and things you never think about.
Yeah.
So if yeah, that's going to be interesting. But we'll work through it. We appreciate you guys and all that you do. So thanks.
Yeah.
Well, and then go to the tap or, have to go to the, presentation.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. See a lot of familiar faces this evening, so hopefully if nothing else, this is a great refresher for you guys. But let's just jump into the presentation that I handed out. And through this presentation, we're going to kind of talk some of the history of Mooresville's redevelopment district and TIF areas. What are some potential ongoing or future projects? You guys need an extra? Yep, sorry about that. If anybody else needs one, we have extra copies. And then we're just going to kind of wrap up with some TIF mechanics that we typically like to cover in this presentation. So on slide 2 here, we have listed the history of the Mooresville 1 and Mooresville 2 allocation areas. As you can see, the original area was established in 1990 and Area 2 in 1993, so there's some significant history to these two areas, both of which have been expanded several times over the past couple decades, and in 2015, the Commission decided to consolidate those two areas into one large consolidated area, which increased kind of flexibility in spending and just kind of streamline the collection for those two areas. Looking back at pay 22, we had estimated that the redevelopment district would bring in about $2.6 million of TIF. You guys kind of hit that right on the nose. $2.65 million of capture, so right aligned with what we were expecting. Healthy collections from all taxpayers, which is great. And in pay 23, we're estimating a pretty decent jump to about $3.4 million of TIF captured from various kind of costs from various developments and changes in assessed value, as well as some of the property tax abatements that you guys had for some taxpayers within the allocation areas. That kind of explains the little bump that we're showing here in 2024 as well. And that kind of that trend carries out for the remaining years of the area as well. That detail is included in the full report that I passed out. If you guys, again, get bored, need some light reading material, all that detail should be there. And if you ever do that and have any questions on that, feel free to reach out to us. Moving forward, there's one other allocation area within the redevelopment district. That's the 2019 allocation area. Got really creative with that name, established in 2019. That was to capture the Shell building. And there's been no expiration date set for that area, as there's been no bonds entered into that. TIF from that area is used to make those payments. So at that time, or upon the request of the commission, that expiration date would be established. And speaking of the Shell building, here we've listed the outstanding obligations, but first listed will be that taxable lease installment contract that was issued in the amount of about $4.1 million that helped fund the Shell building and the infrastructure in the area. So I did want to pause here. One thing that Jason did want to touch base on, I guess, this evening was, I think at the time of issuing the installment contract, there was the hope that once that building is sold, that some of those revenues would be able to potentially be used to pay off that obligation early. So we did just want to stop and just touch base on that process. I know that sale is ongoing and hopefully reaching the finish line soon for you guys. But I didn't know if there was any update on plans for repayment of the installment contract.
So I believe it's the intent of I hope it's the intent of the commission to pay that off upon the sale of the Shell building. we should be closing, if all goes according to plan, by end of June, mid-July, so.
Okay. Great, yeah, just keep us in the loop on that. One thing I wanted to point out was, the way the installment contract is structured, there is the rate reset. So starting in 2025, if, for some reason stuff went south on that deal, that rate will reset and change from 3.93% to 5.17%. So, if nothing else, I would hope by, maybe 2025, we'd be able to avoid incurring that extra interest expense. Yeah, go ahead.
The only thing I would think about, I know you guys have healthy cash balances, but if you did have, you kind of go with that spending plan, it might be worth looking at if you have large number of projects, you're going to have this, proceeds from the sale of the building. You may want to look at what your list of projects are now in the next couple of years, because what I wouldn't want you to do is take that $4 million, pay this off, and then a year from now, or 2 years from now, have to borrow money at a higher interest rate. So that's something to think about. I mean, yeah, we want to get this paid off, but yet, if you know you have projects you're going to fund, it might be better to keep this outstanding where you know what the rate is versus taking a risk that rates are going to get higher a year from now.
Yeah.
Just a thought. If you're going to do that process.
Yeah, it's a good point. 5.17% sounds high for this bond, but I mean, as you guys are aware, we have no idea where interest rates are headed. So there's always that uncertainty down the road. Great point. Thanks, Jason.
I missed the meetings where you talked about how, I said this last year, but I can't believe they keep getting lower.
Yeah, I told you.
That was a while ago.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the next bond. The next bond is the taxable tax increment revenue refunding bonds that we helped issue in 2021. Those were issued in the amount of $10.8 million. That wasn't a new money bond. Excuse me. It was issued to refinance the 2014 bonds, which funded several infrastructure projects, streetscape beautification throughout Mooresville. And then the last obligation is the contribution to the 2010 SRF bonds. That's not an obligation necessarily held by the commission, but there is an annual pledge in the amount of $300,000 that you guys contribute. So those are your three obligations. Moving forward, this slide's really just kind of a tool for your guys' reference, just to kind of look back at the various ways you guys have been able to improve the community using sunset revenue. In page 6 here, we put this very informal budget together with Chelsea's assistance, just as a kind of a way to look big picture at where some of those tip dollars are going in the next couple years, and then also being able to identify some larger long-term obligations that maybe don't cash flow within the year, and you may need to explore some other avenues of funding. But we've included the debt service payments, so about $1.2 million of debt, annually for the next couple years, 2022 and 3 and 4. And we've also included allowances for professional services, engineering, infrastructure projects, specifically Main Street, and then other economic development and redevelopment projects that include everything listed here in this footnote, but Samuel Moore Parkway, Bridge Street, more recently Merriman and State Road 67 Signal, the Patel Site Incentive, and then any other projects that are included in the comprehensive plan. Chelsea, I just wanted to take a minute. Is there anything else that should be noted here?
No, I just, the 1.3 million for 2023 was just kind of a placeholder for the purchase of the road for Patel. If you're going, where are we spending that money this year? Which we'll discuss a little bit more in depth in a little bit, and in the coming months. But, and then I know, initially we talked last year about Main Street, talked about postponing that for a year so that it would not coincide with the bicentennial for construction. So the assumption that there may be some interest to try again this year, so that we're not doing that.
looking for the comprehensive plan to be
Right,
out, so.
Yep.
That's the HWC.
Yeah.
yeah. Yep.
Slide 7 kind of just piggybacks on that same sentiment, right? Here's some projects that have been kind of ongoing and some that are potential tasks in the foreseeable future. The High Street funding, partnership with NDOT, Main Street, the South Side development, police events contribution, and then all other economic development opportunities.
And I can't believe I forgot to add the school to what we did at the end of last year. So,
When that was happening.
I know, I can't believe I spaced that, but the $300,000 to the school for a partnership with Ivy Tech for welding base, so
Let's
yes.
get that added for
I
next year.
know, why did I not? I totally spaced that until right that minute.
Awesome.
It looks great.
That might be something because, just like this year, they're kind of tweaking it, and, one of the proposed bills was that it would be a requirement that redevelopment commission would give up to 15% to police, fire, and schools, but that's a pretty big chunk. So, and we're always, talking to legislators, and so we might come back and use you guys as an example of, hey, you guys are giving to the schools without being required to. It's working, and there's other communities doing that. So things like that are good stories to tell that we want to share.
Well, and that would be a change because it's currently up to 15% may be for schools, period, not,
Optional.
yeah. Well, and also it's not for police and fire. I mean, that would change things if all three bodies are coming annually asking for 15%. Picking winners and losers, that's not fun.
With the kids, please.
Oh.
Alright, moving on here to slide 8, like I said, we wanted to just wrap up these pages talking about some mechanics, and this graphic here really just helps us describe the life of a TIF area from establishment through expiration. So at the time of establishing a TIF area, you guys would, identify the specific parcels that you'd want to include. And obviously those parcels would have an assessed value to them at the time of establishment. So those assessed values are what would currently be going to all the tax bases of the overlapping taxing units, and that would not change upon establishment of the TIF area. So that's what we have considered here, and in our terminology we call that the base assessed value. Again, that's our gray box here, and then any increases in assessed value over the life of the TIF area through specific projects, incentivizing developers, or just economic development in general, that causes those increases. That's what we consider incremental assessed value. Anything captured above the base assessed value. So that's what's captured here in green on the graph. Obviously, that's unfortunately not always a linear progression, but the hope is that as those funds roll in, you're able to continue to invest them into redevelopment areas and continue that trend and cycle of maintaining a standard for those areas. And then once we get to the expiration date of the area, now not only does that base assessed value, the gray portion, go to the overlapping taxing units, but this additional green triangle that is also going to the overlapping taxing units as well. So essentially those overlapping taxing units, your township, school, library, county, they are all going to receive the benefit of those increases in assessed value. It's just more of a delayed benefit. But again, something we wanted to outline here, and then again, obviously our any questions on that? Again, I know this is familiar to you guys because I remember having that conversation last year. But the last thing I just wanted to talk about here is kind of what does that look like in terms of an economic impact when that area ends. So we have here on this last page, I know there's a lot of numbers, but it's basically if we look at the top portion, the top half, scenario one, it's a snapshot of the tax rates, net assessed values, and property tax levies or budgets of all the overlapping tax units right before the area would expire. And in this analysis, we're assuming that all the funds are at their maximum levy, aside from a few funds that are considered rate-driven funds, so that their tax rate is basically set year after year, rather than adjusting with adjustments to net assessed values. But again, since there's so many numbers here that you're looking at, I wanted to simplify things and just focus on Mooresville. So in scenario one, you can see that if you look at the Mooresville town line item, the NAV is about 610 million. Property tax levy is maxed out at about 2.88 million. So what happens when we shift that assessed value from the RDC to the overlapping taxing units, and that's what we're showing here in scenario two. The RDC is currently collecting about $3.4 million of TIF, like we mentioned, from their incremental assessed value that is currently at about $184.6 million. But what happens when we shift that assessed value is that $3.4 million of TIF doesn't just get dispersed to the overlapping taxing units. Instead, when that $184 million of assessed value is added to the NAV tax bases, what will happen is that there's a shift in the tax rates. So if we go to scenario two now and kind of hone in again on our Mooresville town, we can see that our net assessed value has increased to $794 million. But to the right of that, that estimated property tax levy has remained the same. And the only change has actually been a reduction in tax rates. So that is a great benefit. I mean, reducing tax rates means, again, your net assessed values are increasing, and that means, your community is thriving in terms of assessed value growth. However, we just wanted to make sure that there's no misconception on, passing through assessed value means the same amount of net TIF is going to be dispersed amongst the overlapping taxing units. There are also some additional benefits to the shifting assessed values, like, again, circuit breaker benefits with those reductions in tax rates. However, in the case of the town of Mooresville, your guys' tax rates are relatively low, so that would be a minimal impact for you guys, which, again, that's another really positive thing about the community. So I know I just threw a ton of information, ton of numbers at you guys, but it's just always something that, sometimes gets lost in translation with the relationships between assessed value and TIF and the overlapping taxing units. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. If not, that's all I have for you guys. So appreciate your time, appreciate the opportunity to be able to fulfill this requirement for you guys, and help out with any ongoing projects that you have.
Thank you very much.
I will note, just because I can't not, that I'm very aware that the school is at 7874. Voluntarily at 7874, which is still not really max levy. Correct?
We are now at max levy.
You are now at max levy. Okay.
So we are reaching it now.
Okay.
At times we have, our rate has been the same for 13 years, I think.
Okay.
On the bottom, 15% of school corporations in the state, while in the top 20% inside. So, I like that.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
On to item number 4 for tonight's meeting, the minutes of March 2nd, 2023 executive session and public meeting. Any questions, conversation before I ask for a motion in regards to those meeting minutes? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we both at the same time, right? That's for the executive session.
Yeah, that's fine.
And the public meeting from March 2nd, 2023.
I have a motion to accept. Do I have another?
I'll second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed the same. Motion passes to accept the minutes, March 2nd, 2023 executive session and public meeting. I will also ask for a motion for the April 6th, 2023 public meeting. Do I have a motion or any conversation? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion.
I wasn't there. I don't want to.
I wasn't there either.
Oh, neither of us were there.
We can table. That's why we have
Okay.
that's why we have March 2nd on, because that
Yes.
happened at the last meeting. So we'll table.
Okay.
All
Okay.
good.
Tabled it is. Item number 5 for tonight, the financial report.
I will just give a brief update. As we know, our TIF rental property and our debt service reserve remain the same. Our redevelopment capital fund is $7,814,192.79. And that is a total of all TIF accounts of $8,963,262.07. This was emailed out earlier today.
Any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept the financial report as presented.
I have a first, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed the same. Motion passes to accept the financial report as presented. Next item on tonight's agenda, old business, the Mooresville Business Center update.
I wanted to let everyone know, I followed up, the town council did adopt a resolution which rescinded the tax abatement that was outstanding on the Shell building. I do expect there to be another abatement requested on a build-out, but not on what is there currently. So I'm sure that may be confusing publicly when that all comes through after it was just rescinded. But I have followed up with the county auditor and assessor as well to make sure that they have all of the documentation they need to know that it's been rescinded. And I got a recorded copy as well. So we are squared away
Good.
as far as that goes. And also we have Michael Weiser here with Cushman Wakefield, our brokers for the Mooresville Business Center, and I'll hand it over to him.
Oh, there.
My name is Michael Weiser. Happy to be here. Thank you. I am with Cushman and Wakefield. We were hired a couple of years back to start the marketing processes for the Shell building and for the adjacent land. The adjacent land came a little bit later. The Shell building was first and foremost. So I'm here this evening to give you just a quick update on where things are at. I think Chelsea would echo the fact that we talk a lot these days, so the good news is we have a lot going on. So I'm excited to say that we're under contract, as you all know, with a really great company that's coming to the area named Buffers USA to buy the Shell building. I assume I can speak about all this. Everything's been publicly.
You can,
to this
yes.
point. It's not always the case in my career, so it's kind of a little very smooth. I will tell you that that's not been without a few questions and a few documents that we've received as of late, referencing a few things that they have found during the inspection. But what I would tell you is that that is normal. Even on brand new buildings, I think it's easy to recognize that, you know, even brand new buildings may have a couple things that need to be tweaked and so forth. So Chelsea's been very responsive on that, and especially Chris King from Runnabong has been very responsive. And this has been something that we've been working through the last couple of weeks. The good news is that we have great rapport with the brokerage team that's representing the buyer, very open flow of communication, and we feel very confident that everything is still going in the right direction. Just as of a couple days ago, 2 days ago, I believe, we did get in the due diligence by about 30 days, which quite frankly in my world is like not that much time, so that's good for us. Not uncommon to get an extension of due diligence that could be 90 days or 120 days. So the fact that it's just another 30 days is actually a good thing. We have a call tomorrow to address a few of the items that have been brought up during the inspection letter that we've received, and we're going to work through those. And again, I don't see any deal killers by any means. So all good news there. We have been marketing 3 separate land sites for you, comprising of roughly the remaining 82 or 83 acres or so adjacent to the Shell building. Happy to say that we're under contract with 2 groups there. As we all know, Old Dominion has roughly around 55 acres or so that's under contract there, maybe 53. And they are under contract for $60,000 an acre, I believe. Yes, $60,000 an acre. And then we have roughly a 19-acre site adjacent that is under contract right now, and they are at $69,000 an acre. Everybody is within their, inspection periods. Great flow of information, especially from Old Dominion. I would tell you that we did get just about a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, an extension for Imbaliso, which is the French entity that would be coming to town on the smaller site. Kind of jumped around there, but Imbaliso being a new entity to the area as well, because at the end of the day, we know our objective is to bring jobs and bring in new capital investment to your community, and that's fortunately what we're getting. We've got 3 new groups, so one could say your plan has worked, right? Go and offer these opportunities to bring new investment to the community. So that is happening. The one site that we have had a little bit of a tough time on is the 10-acre site. I would tell you that is the site that is that's the tougher one. When you have a 10-acre site with roughly 2 to 3 acres on it that's probably buildable, that you can kind of do something with, that doesn't quite showcase quite as well. So we have had a few groups that have entertained, but that is still very much so out on the market. I would say that that's the one that we have to be really flexible. I mean, quite frankly, we've been able to get almost full ask prices on the Shell building and the other land sites. So we've been happy with that. But that 10-acre site is the one that we have to be flexible on. We have to be flexible because when you're telling someone that we want you to pay for 10 acres, but you can really only use in the conventional sense, 20 to 30% of it, it's a tough sale. It also opens you up to certain avenues where people can say, well, I would just like to store stuff outside. I'd like to store stuff on it. Well, you don't want to store, and we'll just call it junk, adjacent to really nice buildings that are possibly going to be on the site in the next year or so. So taking all of that into account, that one is a delicate situation. I have had a site in Plainfield, a 7-acre site. It's in a really good location in Plainfield for years and years and years, and it's the same situation. It's a 7-acre site, and it's got about 2 acres that's buildable. It's been very, very challenging with that. So even though I have some experience working with that, I can tell you I don't have the absolute recipe for success on those. It's a little bit tough sometimes. I have brochures on the land sites, on the Shell building. I'm happy to hand those out to you if you would like. You might say, oh, we're totally familiar with it, and I take no offense. So, do you have any questions for me on anything regarding or the land sites?
We just appreciate all your effort and your open communication lines, because I know there's a lot of cogs moving at the same time. So we appreciate, and the confidence of how the deals are moving forward. It's a world where things can change just like that, but we appreciate all the work.
In my world pretty quickly. So
Absolutely.
it seems to be going in the right direction. We've had no indication of getting off track on any of the sites we're under contract with the Shell building. So again, I Ryan Baker and Cushman Wakefield.
Absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Next item on tonight's agenda, the fire station update.
Can I go back just for a minute?
Nope.
Please?
Okay.
Quickly. I do want to thank Michael and Ryan. We do talk a lot, and he's always very responsive, even if he's on vacation or flying back at 1 a.m. He's here, as he did last night, fly in at 1 a.m., and he's here tonight. So I really do appreciate them. Again, I want to echo sentiments about Run a Bomb. They've been wonderful partners. They're addressing anything that has come up with the building. We do have a call scheduled tomorrow. I would ask, and Michael had mentioned this, that the buffers which is the potential buyer of the Shell building, has requested an additional 30-day inspection period. So I would ask for approval of the additional 30 days upon legal counsel's review of any documentation, corresponding documentation.
I have a motion on the table. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
So all first and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed the same. All right, into that pending legal review, correct?
Yep.
Now can we go to the fire
Yes,
station?
absolutely.
All right.
No, we can't. And I don't have an update. We're still trying to figure out if there's a spot already owned by the town that we could pursue as opposed to expending additional funds. So
Okay.
I don't want to take it off because it's
Yeah.
something we've been working on, but I don't have an update.
Absolutely.
Regarding the Patel site, I do expect next month that we'll have an economic development agreement as well as the TIF amendment to bring the Patel site into the TIF plan as it was just annexed. And we kind of discussed earlier briefly, they will need an extension off of Packmore Boulevard. And so they will be building that, they being the developer. After some negotiations, I think we've decided that the quickest and easiest way to meet their timeline on development is that they would build the road, and that the redevelopment commission as an incentive would then buy the road from them. So I expect a development agreement that's before you next month. So that's all I have.
Perfect. Next item on tonight's agenda, new business. A new business need discussed. Anybody?
No, I can bring up, I'm on the comprehensive plan committee, and thanks to Chelsea, they presented their thoroughfare plan and some of the ideas that they had for improvements. One of them was High and Monroe, and they weren't aware of the light that would be installed, so thanks Chelsea for running down that information. And I believe that's going to be ready for public review in June.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for bringing that up. If there's legal, okay, Adam's done, managerial.
Honestly, between all of behind the scenes to make sure we're getting across the finish line. So I'm happy to answer any questions anybody may see in my written report. But that's the bulk of where my time has been spent.
Any questions from the board? Comment? Okay. The next item, review the claims.
Okay, it looks like we have account payable vouchers in the total of $11,840.
Is that the form of a motion?
Yes, I make a motion that we pay these bills in the amount of $11,840.
I have a first to accept. Do I have a second?
A second?
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed the same. Guess we'll sign it and pay the bills. For good of the order, and we do have some guests with us here tonight, so anybody in attendance? Any information? No? Nothing? Appreciate you all coming. Another riveting meeting. We'll move down the line. Dr. Allen?
Just appreciate the comment from Jason and Sam about us being a good example of a school district and commission that works well together. We're very appreciative of that.
Yeah.
And esports state champs 2 times over. So pretty proud of that.
Thanks for the shout out. It's the captain.
Thank you, Dr. Allen. Well, Ms. Pipkin, I guess Jake took your
Well, that
thunder
was-
there a little bit. Yeah.
Other than the comp plan, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Cole?
Something I've been sort of working on behind the scenes is trying to bring Plainfield, Mooresville, Morgan County together. And we have a quarterly meeting that is now set. There will be, I am going to be on that, a member of the Mooresville Town Council, a commission about some of these economic development opportunities that I think we could share. In particular, I'm interested in the thoughts of trails. So that is something that just kind of is on the back burner that we're hopefully going to do.
Good deal. Well, appreciate you taking the time to be on a board like that, because I think the more we communicate between the surrounding towns and counties working together, and I think as we have shown, when you open communication lines between schools and entities like this, it'll work out for the benefit for all those involved. So thank you, Brian. I have nothing.
I forgot to say
Oh.
that, I know, Council President Tom Worthen wanted to be here tonight, but he had another obligation, so I did get him an advance copy of Baker Tilly's presentation, and he apologized that he was not here, but he has received the information, and as I always do, I'll send it out to all the underlying taxing units that received an invite to come tonight, just so they have.
Next meeting date set for June 1st, 2023 at 6 p.m. Is that still, as far as we know, still working everybody's schedule?
Yeah.
All right, need to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I have a first and a second. Very quick second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed the same.